It's completely pointless for Gen Z to even bother trying to get a traditional 9-to-5 job these days. Every job these days is pretty much a dead-end job. The work is totally soulless and unfulfilling, and just to top it all off, the pay is just total crap. And this is if you can even get a job in the first place. The job market is so beyond cooked now that you might find yourself as one of many people today sending out hundreds and hundreds of applications with absolutely no response at all. Okay, so this is stuff we've already talked about on this channel over 200 times, literally. The question still remains, what should you do about it? If you're a young person trying to navigate the shitty world and economy we're all living in right now, how do you find another way to make money, pay your bills, and live a meaningful life without working a traditional 9-to-5? If you've been asking these questions, you've come to the right spot. Let's get this show on the road. Step 1, embrace minimalism. I truly believe that the meta has changed and minimalism has replaced hustle culture as the only true way to achieve true financial freedom. Think about it. We've all seen countless stories of multimillionaire athletes, rappers, and lottery winners who all lost their money and went broke anyways. Meanwhile, the people who actually end up building long-term sustainable wealth still live relatively minimalistically even to this day. Now, believe it or not, in the modern day and age, it's actually pretty easy to secure some sort of online side hustle or personal business that will make you enough money to sustain a minimalist lifestyle. More on this a bit later. But first, if you want to survive and thrive without working a traditional job, you're going to have to learn to accept and embrace a minimalist lifestyle. Hell, jobs pay such dogshit low wages now that you'll have to accept minimalism even if you bust your ass 60 hours a week. But that's another story. As this comment put it perfectly right here, your choices these days are either option 1, work and be poor, or option 2, don't work and be poor. So at this point, might as well choose option 2. Now, if you're a young single guy, you'd be surprised as to just how fun and fulfilling a jobless, minimalist lifestyle can be. Most things you need for entertainment are easy one-time purchases. I mean, once you invest $700 in a PS5 or a gaming PC, you never have to pay for it again, and it's good for years of entertainment. Getting good exercise and cooking your own cheap, healthy meals is not only cheap, it actually even saves you money. And if you don't have to deal with the stress of working 60 hours a week at a soulless 9-to-5, turns out you got a lot more time to do these things. Let's put it this way. You can either stress yourself out working 12 hours a day to make just enough to afford a burger at McDonald's, or you can learn to cook that burger yourself and completely bypass the need to work 12 hours for it. You can work 12 hours a day to pay for dogshit American healthcare that isn't going to cover you anyways when you inevitably run into health issues that you got from your job. Or you can quit your job, avoid the many health issues of work-related stress, and use that free time to exercise and cook healthy meals so that you don't have to rely on the garbage American healthcare system to begin with. Now, if you can combine this with one of the many alternative lifestyles we've covered in past videos, such as moving abroad, living in a van, or even just living with your parents if that option is available to you, you can really take minimalism to the absolute next level. Moving abroad, for example, allows you to rent cheap apartments in beautiful cities for as little as $300 a month, while van life can be as cheap as $800 a month. I would say a good fundamental benchmark to shoot for is $1,000 per month. If you can get your living expenses to $1,000 per month or lower, it will be a lot easier to build an online side hustle or business to be able to sustain yourself. Step 2, be adaptable.
Okay. I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Unlike most outdated delusional boomer advice, these words of wisdom from Bruce Lee actually still stand the test of time and are still relevant today. In fact, I would argue they're even more relevant now than when he said this now famous quote. This is because in 2025, the world changes at such a rapid breakneck pace, and the only way to really be successful these days is to be adaptable and flexible like water. This way, you can quickly adapt and adjust to these rapidly changing times. We've spent a lot of time exposing the delusional, outdated viewpoints of boomers, specifically their stupid, outdated mindset that hard work still pays off. One thing we haven't talked about enough, however, is their outdated belief that you can just learn one skill and you'll be set for life financially. This may have been true during their time, but with how fast the world changes now, you might have to learn 5 to 10 different skills in your lifetime to really succeed. For example, a lot of you were told that if you just went to college and got a degree in CS or some STEM field, you'd have a guaranteed good job waiting for you the second you graduated. Only to find out the world completely changed and the tech market quickly got oversaturated to hell by the time you graduated. The world just changes way too fast to reliably count on one skill at this point. But we already knew this, so the question remains, what should you do instead? The best way I can answer this question is through telling you my own personal journey with this. So, in my early 20s, I had dreams of becoming a YouTuber and took some time to try and learn YouTube. Unfortunately, YouTube didn't work out for me back then. So, when I was a broke 27-year-old struggling to make any type of money in this economy, I was desperate and I discovered the world of crypto. Unfortunately, I bought into a horrible bear market and wouldn't profit from my investments until many years later. But getting into crypto taught me one very important lesson. The only way to really succeed in this rapidly changing world is to capitalize on an emerging trend before everyone else catches on and it becomes oversaturated. Then, after you profit, move on and look for the next emerging trend. I first learned to do this as I was swing trading altcoins, hopping from one altcoin to the next. The volatile altcoin market was a great representation of the modern world and economy. Everything comes and goes. Nothing lasts forever anymore. The only way to seriously profit is to just capitalize on emerging trends and sell high. Eventually, when all of crypto hit a nasty bear market in 2018, I learned to study the stock market, where I capitalized on the emerging market of Tesla. A few years later, both stocks and crypto hit a nasty bear market, and I knew I had to find the next emerging trend. That is when I heard about the AI hype and I learned to create an AI YouTube channel. Now, just about a year ago, AI videos were blowing up and everyone was fascinated by this incredible new technology. And so I got in at the exact right time to build up this channel. But just one short year later, YouTube got completely saturated with AI content, and the narrative around AI videos completely changed from, oh, this amazing new technology to now, just AI slop. And so I made the decision to move away from AI and go back to the very first dream I had in my early 20s of just making authentic content with my real voice again. And it seems like a lot of you like this change, so I stuck with it. The point here, guys, is that I had to learn 6 or 7 new skills in only about 10 years to get ahead in this modern economy. I had to learn YouTube, then crypto, then the traditional stock market, then AI-generated content, then right back to where I started with original, authentic YouTube content. The reason this ended up working out is when you capitalize on new emerging trends, you are by definition entering a new space where everyone is just starting out. And by doing this, you no longer have to compete against people with 10 to 15 years of experience in your domain. If I went the traditional route that delusional boomers try to pressure me into, such as going to college, for example, I would have graduated into a job market where I would have to compete against people with 15 years of experience. But by becoming an early adopter of crypto, Tesla stocks, AI, and YouTube, I quickly noticed how much easier it was to compete on an even playing field where everyone was starting out with the same 0 years of experience. Now, if learning a new skill every 2 to 3 years sounds overwhelming and exhausting, trust me when I say it really isn't. It's actually been quite fun learning new things and constantly expanding my horizons, as opposed to just sitting at a desk doing the same thing for years on end. It only sounds exhausting because you weren't mentally prepared to do this. You were lied to your whole life by your delusional boomer parents telling you life was as simple as learning one skill in college and then you'll be set for life. And of course, we now know how bullshit that is. But now that you know the truth, You just have to mentally accept it and prepare for it. And truth be told, it really actually boils down to one skill you have to learn at the end of the day: how to be adaptable. You got to be water, like Bruce Lee. You know, one day the world might be a teacup. The next day it'll be a river. The next year it might become an ocean or a tsunami. But if you yourself are water, you can adapt no matter what shape the ever-changing world takes on. So open your eyes and ears and try to figure out what is the next big emerging market you can capitalize on. What is the next big investment opportunity? What's the next big emerging career in the realm of AI? What's the next big thing to talk about on YouTube that no one else has noticed yet? I promise you this, because the world changes so fast now, there's always going to be a new and emerging market popping up every single day. You just have to spot them. The idea of ditching the traditional path and just chasing your own dreams has always been looked down on with a snarky, arrogant attitude from delusional boomers and older generations. They always give you that stupid, outdated speech about, giving up your childish dreams and coming back to reality. The problem for them is that at this point, the economy and the job market is so screwed that the odds of getting a decent middle-class job is basically the same as the odds of making it as a YouTuber or influencer these days. Or whatever dream you might have had that you were told you should just give up and get a real job instead. Yeah, the problem is that logic only works if getting a real job isn't just as hard or even harder. This is a story from a programmer with over 15 years experience who's applied to over 1,000 positions and still couldn't get a job. At this point, the odds of getting even a quote-unquote normal real job is pretty much the same, if not even harder, than the chances of making it on YouTube or TikTok. Or even just going on Fiverr and seeing all the ways people are making money by pursuing their passions. At this point, you might as well pursue your dreams, because if you beat the odds and make it, at least you'll be enjoying something you do. Now, here's another factor when it comes to chasing your own dreams over going the traditional route. A lot of dream chaser careers, such as being a YouTuber, starting your own business, or developing an individual skill set you can use on Fiverr or Upwork, can be done remotely, meaning you can move to and work from anywhere you want in the world, where cost of living is much lower. When you were told by your delusional boomer parents that your dreams and passions won't pay you enough to make a living, their viewpoint is that of a narrow-minded and ignorant old person who's unaware of the fact that a world actually, in fact, exists outside of the West. Sure, it may not pay you enough to afford these ridiculous rent prices in America, but it will absolutely allow you to move wherever you want, where you can find much cheaper and better places to live. It will allow you to redefine what it means to make a living. In a lot of places, even $1,000 a month is enough money to live comfortably. Scaling an online business to that level is still a challenge, but it is very achievable. For example, I was always told by delusional boomers that YouTube wasn't a real job and would never pay me enough to, quote unquote, make a living. And that would be true if I stayed in America, but YouTube did allow me to leave America and move somewhere where the cost of living is much more reasonable and sustain myself this way. Even though today I'm still a very small YouTube channel that doesn't even have 10,000 subscribers yet, I'm able to sustain myself just because I'm able to live overseas. So don't let boomers and outdated traditional guidelines of what it means to be successful and make a living hold you back. You can redefine success and redefine what it means to make a living. Okay, so just to quickly recap, this is how you can escape the god-awful cooked job market and begin to live life on your own terms. Step 1, embrace minimalism. Try to get your living expenses under $1,000 a month. This can be done via either moving abroad, living in a van, or simply just living with your parents if that option is available to you. Step 2, look to build your own online side hustle / online business. You only need to scale it up to $1,000 a month, which is not that hard to do. And compared to how risky the traditional job market is now, it's not even all that much riskier than trying to get a normal 9-to-5 at this point anyways. And step 3, look to capitalize on emerging trends in their early days. Become an early adopter and have an adaptable mindset so that you can constantly adapt and adjust to the ever-evolving and rapidly changing world we all live in. If you can successfully do all these 3 things right here, It gets you much closer to the desired goal of being able to live, survive, and thrive without having to work a normal 9 to 5. Step 4, give back and repeat the process. So during my travels, I once met a guy who could see that I was struggling financially, and without me even asking, he told me that he had a spare room in his house and that I could stay there for a few weeks as I was figuring out life. This really saved me. I mean, it allowed me to find an online English tutoring gig and build enough savings to continue my travels. And as I was leaving his house on the last day, I told him that I owed him big time and that if there was anything I could ever do to repay him, to let me know. It was at this moment he said something that has always stuck with me. He shook my hand and he said, "No, don't ever feel like you owe me anything. But if you want to repay me, one day you will be my age and a young guy will need your help. When that day comes, you remember what I did for you." Those words echoed in the back of my mind to this day, and it's the reason I do everything I do today. It's the reason you're watching this video. It's the reason I was inspired to start this channel, and it's the message I will leave you with. One day, after you figure out how to survive and thrive in this fucked up world we're all living in, it'll be your turn to help out the next generation of young people, or even figure out how we can all help each other even right now. The world might not give a shit about us, but we can give a shit about each other and hopefully start the long process of making the world just a slightly less shit place to live in.